Well, hi everybody, Matt Kloskowski here, and just got a few On1 tips for you here inside of On1 Photo 2019. I have not tested them with 2018, so if you're using an older version, I cannot guarantee they work, although I think most of them work pretty similar. All right, let's take a look at the first one here. So this one comes up when I'm doing something with the adjustment brush. So let's say I go to my local adjustments and I'll bring the exposure down. A lot of times I'll just want to make something a little bit darker, like this this kind of tree that's sticking out here. So I want to go along here and paint, and I kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect to the edges, so I'll just go along and I'll paint, and I have to make sure I do not spill over onto the edge though. Okay, so while there's a number of different ways to do this, if you need to get really intricate, you can of course use the perfect brush and do masking and all that stuff, but sometimes I just want to be quick, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just is a straight edge. So here's a little tip. I can click once with my brush, all right? So I'm just gonna click right over here, and then I can go down to the bottom here and I can hold down the Shift key and click again, and you'll see it draws a straight line between those, all right? Now, it might not have done a perfect straight line. I might have been outside the boundaries a little bit, but you get the idea. So there are times where you don't want intricate masks along trees and hair. Maybe sometimes you just want a very straight edge, and it could be, architectures, buildings, whatever it happens to be. That's a really good tip to make sure that your edge along your brush will be straight. I'll make it a little bit more obvious here. Let me just crank it up. Again, if I click once and then I click somewhere else, see it just draws a straight line between the two. So if you ever need that, it can come in handy. Okay, next one here. This one is a real quick one, is whenever you are masking. So let's say I go and let's go grab one of my masking brushes here. In fact, let's go back over to develop and let's grab my masking brush. Let's say for some reason, I'm going to mask out the background and replace the background. This used to be different inside of an older version of On1, so that's why I'm calling this out. What would happen is we're in paint out mode, so we're painting out. All right, and we would reveal any layers that we had below, which I don't have any layers right now, but we're in paint out mode. And then you used to be able to hold the X key down and that would switch to paint in mode, but the X key has now been replaced for flagging and rejecting and all that. So what you would do now is hold down the Option or Alt key, which is actually the keyboard shortcut in a lot of other software. So it's kind of similar, whatever you're painting with, Option or Alt usually did the reverse. So you'll see if you look at the cursor, the minus is for paint out and then the plus is for paint in. So I just hold down that Option or Alt key and now I can paint in. Okay, so if you're wondering why the X key doesn't work anymore, it just doesn't work because it was replaced for a different shortcut, and the Option Alt key does exactly what that used to do. Okay, another one here. So let's say this is one that I hear quite a bit about. So let's say I go over into effects, okay? And I add a filter. Let's say I'm going to do something, maybe color enhancer. All right, so I go add a color enhancer filter, maybe do foliage, see if that does anything, fall. I can come in here, even increase the saturation. And then let's say I go in and I add another filter, like maybe a glow or something like that. So I go in here and add a little bit of a glow, okay? So I've just added these filters. Then I'm kind of cruising along and I look over on the left-hand side and I'm like, you know what? I think this preset might look cool on this photo as well. So you click on the preset and all of your filters that you just added go away. All right, so notice that my color enhancer is not there. Notice that my glow is not there anymore. So what happens is basically, I'm going to step back for a second. I'm going to undo. What's happening is by adding a preset, you're telling On1, I now want this to be the effects or the style for this photo. I don't want whatever you had in the filter panel over here anymore. I don't want that. I want just the preset. So let's say you have added things into your effects over here and you want to add a preset on top of it. The little trick is you go over to the preset and just right click and then just choose Insert Preset. Okay, so you'll see we have a glow and a color enhancer there now. If I click on Insert Preset, then as I go through here, you'll see, got my sunshine, it added a vignette, it added a split tone, it added a tone enhancer, and my glow and my color enhancer are still down there. So it basically just inserted the preset into what I had versus just clicking on the preset, which would always replace what you have over here. And it's done that by nature because presets are supposed to be pretty, it's expected that you're going to click on a preset, look at it and say, yeah, I might or might not like that. And then maybe you'll go to another preset and you'll click on that preset. Yeah, I might or might not like this. If it didn't replace them all the time, you would have, just in 2 presets, you could have 20 filter layers over here. So that's why it happens. Okay, last thing here. Let's get back. Let's say that I was this one. Consider this one more of a public service announcement. So let's say we go in here and let's say I was going to do something with a different background. I'm going to go to ON1 Extras. Maybe I was going to do something with a texture. So I'm experimenting. I go to my ON1 Extras. I'll go in here to textures and I'll go in and I'll throw a paper texture on top of there and I'll add that as a layer. And apparently it doesn't like to do that. So let's see if we can do another one in here. Let's try metal. Let's try that one. Let's add that one as a layer and looks like it liked that one. All right. So tip number 1, you know what? Think of this as a bonus tip because a lot of people don't know this, but if I want it to fit the canvas size here, I don't have to go in here and individually drag out all the edges. There's a little icon right up there in the top. I can either stretch it to fit vertically, or I can either flip it vertically or horizontally, I should say. But the one key one here is fill canvas, and that makes that layer fill the entire canvas. It's a really great keyboard shortcut. I wish other programs had it. Let's just click apply there. So let's say, I go in here and I'm playing around, I can maybe change it to overlay or something like that and reduce the opacity. Again, I'm experimenting. So here's the public service announcement. If you're done experimenting, you're thinking, well, and let's say I don't like this because I don't like this. If I hit reset and I hit reset layer, I hit reset down here, notice I still have 2 layers over here. Here's the kicker. If I go back to browse, especially if these were, large megapixel camera files, if I go back to browse from here, it's going to force me to save a whole different file. Even though I don't want it because I was just experimenting, I won't get an option to opt out of this. I won't get an option to do anything. My only option is to go back to browse and wait for it to save a whole nother file because it's going to be a layered file with large megapixels and it just takes a while. So the public service announcement, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's important to know is you have to go in here and delete your layer. If you delete your layer and then you reset, I can go back to browse instantly. Right? And I'm good. It hasn't done anything. It hasn't created a new file. It hasn't created a new layered file. But if I didn't delete that layer, it would have saved a whole new document. So to me, a little bit of a workflow issue inside of there. And I'm sure ON1 has kind of, they keep a close eye on all their users. So I'm sure we'll probably get some type of a, reset all button that comes into play where if I wanted to get myself back to just this photo, I would. But in the meantime, until that happens, just keep that in mind. If you ever want to get yourself back, just go in there and delete all the layers. And that way ON1 won't force you to go in there and create a new document. Okay? Folks, hope you enjoyed these tips. Hope you get some use out of them. And I will talk to you again real soon.